hurts black bodies. You and Wendy sat in the same implicit bias training together all day from 8 until the evening time, drafting an email that was targeting us. Y'all know what the problem is. Y'all know what the problem is, because if it was your children, you would have been in here. Y'all know what the problem is. That's why y'all in here.
Y'all teach us what the problem is.
Yeah.
Y'all teach us how to solve the problems, how to point the problems out, how to analyze the problems, how to seminar about the problems.
How to synthesize the information from all the words. We can go down the list. Like, we have to do all that anyway. Like, what happened to the 5 foci? What happened to all of that? Can you not cut me off, though? Because one of the things that happened, like, we talk about, like, patriarchy and white supremacy. You just exercise that. You just exemplify that. Nobody else got cut off.
I apologize.
Like, and I don't want your apology. I want you to, like, practice what is learned here. None of this stuff even needs to be, we shouldn't even be talking about it. It's written down. Everything that Evergreen is supposed to stand for is actually good, which is why we're here. And if you would just follow it, this wouldn't be a problem. So, like, I'm tired of, like, why should we do all of this? Why should y'all stay employed? You're getting paid for this. I'm getting paid for this because I'm on the GI Bill. I'm on imperialist blood money. That's what has me here. I can go anywhere. But why should you stay here? What are you bringing to change this? Please, I would like to hear from you first.
Oh, you should have heard what he said earlier. That was
That was early. Let me just say, I've witnessed racism occur in other programs that I've taught in. I mean, Tamiko, first of all, Tamiko, I did not witness what happened.
I know it's not that. I know you didn't witness it, but still, I
did the best, and I did the best I could, and I.
Yeah, you just kept your mouth shut the whole time.
No, what I did, Tamika, was I worked with you to make you feel as welcome as possible in that program. And
I didn't feel welcome because I never came, as you saw. So
Right.
that didn't work.
But I
Just keep
but
going,
anyway,
John.
So there's other incidents that I've also observed and am aware of, and I'm just going to let you know I've brought those to the attention of the administration. Okay, I have brought them to the attention of the administration. I feel very bad about those, and you might not believe me, but I have them. They're documented, and if anyone wants me to share that documentation, I'm more than happy to do so.
Please do.
Some of those are those are in emails, which are public documents, which you can request. First of all. Second of all, there was a posting on Greener Commons about segregated seminar sections. Anybody see that? All right. So that occurred last spring, and then there is a police investigation that occurred in the program I was in last year, and involved a student of color. And so I've observed this stuff, and I've brought it to the attention of the administration at the time. Well, the thing is, what can I do? I mean,
are you willing to testify on our behalf of a lawsuit were to come
I'm willing to talk about
Can
my
everybody
experience.
get that on
I'm willing
video?
to talk about my experience here because I've had experiences here where I've brought things to the attention of the people that are in a position to make those changes. All right, I'm not, but I brought that to the attention of the people who are in the administration or are in a position to make those changes, and I want to see those changes made. I want to be constructive about this. I don't want to tear down people. I want to try to build up people. And the last thing I want to mention is that last year, when the Coming Together series was discussed among the new faculty, I also brought up the need for training as well. I didn't feel that the Coming Together series, those were speakers, those were not trainings, and I made that point abundantly
As a faculty of color, I need to address this issue.
Okay.
And I
Please
think
do.
you are taking a lot of space. First of all, as a minority
Hell
of
yeah.
color, as a faculty member of color, you personally addressed and challenged me at my office door saying, why didn't we as a union protect you when we did our best to defend you and address your concerns, and yet you come to a faculty member of color and charge her for not protecting your needs. So I refuse to listen to you grandstand and co-op this student meeting. That's what I have to say.
Get out! You're not helpful. Get out!
Can you listen to your shirt?
Get out!
Shake and chill. You need to go. I feel like you just.
This is the kind of shit we put up with, George.
No.
And you just saw that.
You just witnessed that.
That's
You
your
saw
bad.
that.
How do you feel?
George, you cut him a paycheck.
Get out!
John, as one of your classmates, get out.
So,
But George, that's a prime example. You just
yeah,
he
you
was
just
standing
witnessed
right in
it.
front of you, and you did not do a damn thing.
You were holding him. Hold his paycheck and fire
Hold
him.
on,
What does
hold
that
on,
do?
hold on. Hold on. You were just holding him. You saw him go from 0 to 60 just like that. If he was any closer, he looked like he was gonna like jump at her. I felt like he threatened her.
That's
What do you
In
think
front of
happens in the classroom
everybody.
when you're not there?
You just saw that. Do you feel like that's the same person?
hey, close the door.
Community love.
Community love.
Hey, shut the door. Shut the door. We have
Nick,
shut the door.
stop letting
Go
people
out.
in. Nick.
Okay, if you,
Come here. No,
shut the door. You're the last person in the red shirt. Come on.
Shut the door and don't open it no more.
I have a question. I just want to know if you have to practice door for air. When you're out, you want the door closed.
Nah, close the door. Please. I'll get on the floor.
I'm sorry, try to sit on the ledge right there, or you can even get like chairs.
Shut the door. Cool. Look at Central.
I have heard that person say racist things.
Like that was a black man. He be in jail now.
If you're a white student,
being arrested right now.
you know?
If he would act like that in front of white
So let's keep this moving. Come
She
on.
doesn't come us.
What are we doing?
I wanted to bring something up that was also said yesterday at the forum. I'm not sure, I don't remember who the student was, but someone said that, or suggested that we had something where faculty that there would be a mandatory faculty cultural competency training, and then that was then vetoed because that's illegal or whatever. And then it was suggested that the people that refuse to go to those trainings have to sign something that said, I refuse to go to these trainings. And that was also vetoed because for whatever reason that is also illegal. But what about having something where people sign that I did go to these trainings and having that be public knowledge and public information so that when folks and students want to take classes, they're able to see that when they apply or when they enroll or register for classes. I just wanted to throw that out as something that we could do. So there are solutions.
Anybody who gets paid by the school have an idea about that solution that the student just did? She just did a job for you. Can you comment on that, please?
And can you guys at least write that down? That was a core step you guys can take because we've already
Like
walked around
listening to us.
your legal precautions, and we understand that, you can't have people say, well, I'm not going to take the training, let me sign it. But you can have a sign-in at the training that is then public knowledge so that students are aware of the teachers and the professors and the faculty and staff that have taken these classes and understand cultural competency more. And then it's leaving out, we have the choice to not pick the teachers that haven't taken those classes, and that's a feasible and easy thing for you guys to do. As I'm looking at staff and faculty administrators around the room, you guys could at least write it down, and we just came up with one core concept, one critical step you guys can take starting with your next culture, your competency trainings.
The chain written down over here, just so you know.
I'm sorry, who are you?
You got it too, right? Faculty, thing written down. You polka dots, you got it, you writing this stuff? Provost.
No, my man's right here was writing it. What's his name again?
I'm great.
Greg said he writing it.
Y'all got phones.
Also, take the time. That's hella weird, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we sit in silence while these people who we pay solve these issues that they already know what they are? Can y'all sit in silence real quick and let them work?
Yep.
Because that's what they're getting paid for.
Boom. Did you forget them from last year?
Yeah, the same
You
one.
got him somewhere.
Like you talked to us personally.
If
you,
we give you
brought
the-
all
Yeah.
the black students to the school and told us we're the loudest student group you've ever had over. I have video and pictures from that. So we gave pretty deep, we've done this at length since exactly a year ago. On May 20th, 2016, you released the video where they ripped down our flyers from the thing that we were organizing last year. We talked about all of this a year ago. Do you not remember what we talked about?
I need a refresher.
Well, you told us, wait. Yesterday I was under the impression you told us you've been working real hard on this. So what have you been doing if you weren't listening to the demands?
He ain't been doing nothing. I mean, the most basic one was creating a book for the introduction for the school for the first.
No, my issue is what have you been doing all year? Can you list the specific steps you've been taking all year if you haven't been working towards the demands
Lori
that you did
Meeker,
last year?
are you still currently at, are you still head of the union?
I'm on that. So I'd like to say something. So there's a number of us here who are on the bargaining team for the United Faculty of Evergreen. That's the faculty union. Grace is here. She's our chair of the union. I was on the union chair for 6 years before that. I think John Davies is the chair of our bargaining team. Stephen Beck is here. He's also on the bargaining team. Actually, the full bargaining.
Stephen Beck? Can y'all be raising your hands?
There's over there.
He's the one who didn't want to come upstairs.
Yeah. Damn, Naima had to get him.
Okay, he's here. So what I want to say is our full bargaining team is here. What we're responsible for is bargaining all the working conditions for faculty, including discipline and discharge. So anytime there's discipline issues with the faculty, we have in the contract that we've made an agreement with the administration what happens to those faculty, and there's a progressive discipline clause. So it can be suspension without pay, it can be all the way from that, to firing, etc. So that's in the contract. We support that. If issues come up around racism of faculty in the classroom, then it should be dealt with through progressive discipline in the contract. We have that tool. The admin has that tool, and it can be used. It just hasn't been, as far as I know. But it hasn't been.
Can I ask you a quick question, though?
Yes, question.
So, remember earlier when we were speaking with him, and he said that actions will be taken, but what? This is the tag on. This is the tag on the lecture earlier, because I really want to know this. So remember earlier they were talking about things happen with the faculty, like they work with them, but it happens in privacy. With that, do we actually know that something is happening? Because clearly that's not the truth, because nothing's happening with them when they do it.
So I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Go ahead and interject. Go ahead and say something.
Grace, where are you?
Right here.
Cynthia. So we had this conversation earlier when my colleague was saying some things that were racist and causes of pain, and what was decided was he wasn't actually breaking anything in the CBA, so there wasn't anything that we could do, and that's so I like what you're saying, Laura, but I didn't feel that it was working, and so I just really see what y'all are bringing as complaints as real complaints, and I don't know that there's a system to work with it right now. So I'm willing to work to help talk about that. I'm not just complaining, but I don't see that what we have is working.
So then I want to know how we change the CBA. So we do that in negotiations, and we are currently in negotiations right now with the admin. Our contract expires in August, and so any issues can be brought to the table now. And one of the issues that we can bring to the table is mandatory training and cultural competence.
Yeah.
So as a bargaining
bring that to the table?
As a bargaining team, we're willing to bring that to the table and talk with the admin and see if we can get that in our contract.
I would actually, if you have that, if you have the latitude to do that with your contracts, first, are those the agreements for the union publicly accessible?
Yes.
Okay. I think that the institution should broadcast that, and at any time, at the start of every quarter, every student should know that that's public knowledge. But also, why isn't there a clause that says that you can't be hired here if you're cultural competency? That's a cute way of saying white people are familiar with anything other than that. And that's not the way. That's automatically setting in the default as the professor and the faculty will be white, because those are the people who will need cultural competency. So why don't you just put that into your contracts that you will adhere to the principles that we have at this institution, or you will not be hired. You don't have to hire everybody.
That's right, because y'all don't.
So hiring is part of management rights. So there are certain things that don't constrain those rights, and the CBA doesn't constrain hiring rights. So those criteria and categories are up to the faculty as a whole through the agenda committee process and with the administration, who has the ultimate say on hiring.
Please.
But go ahead.
My name's Lisa. I'm a member of the faculty. Thank you all for being here. I am so grateful to hear that because I have been asking for it from my stewards for years. I don't have it. I learn it on my own, and we have needed this forever. So I'm really glad to hear that. The other piece I want to just pick apart of it is that white folks don't necessarily understand racism and our racism inside and out. And what I'm learning is this is hard for a white person, but I'm learning to imagine what it might be like to be a student of color and how they hear us and how they see us. And so I need to be really careful to say, I don't know what that experience is like, and I need to learn it. And so I get a little itchy when I hear faculty saying, yes, we have these protocols for identifying racism, when I'm pretty sure white faculty don't necessarily know what racism looks like. And we need to.
Maybe being a white person to tell them so that they know. I mean, that's another example right there. No diss to what you
Why
said.
isn't the system being used? What do you mean by, like, who's not using the system? Are you saying Evergreen's not using that system of accountability, like, between the union? Or, like, what do we need to do to make sure that we know about that system and that Evergreen is filing that with the union or whatever?
So, I mean, one way to look at the CBA is also on the website for United Faculty at Evergreen, so UFE.org. UFEvergreen.org has the CBA on the website, and it's also on the Provost page, the Evergreen website. The Provost page has CBAs on the side, in the sidebar. So it'd be good to, look at the deep language of discipline and discharge. What I'm saying in terms of holding people accountable is that has to happen through that process, but it can happen. That's all I'm saying. It can be exercised, and I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is being exercised around these issues.
But the ultimate implementation of professional responsibilities and discipline that emanate from the contract, the ultimate implementation goes through administration.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
So this is what Cynthia is addressing, is like she had a problem with one of her teaching partners, and we represented her, but it was still up to the administration to implement the discipline. People that were telling us that they didn't have no power. And you didn't know how to contact them.
Nope, this is why I want everybody to
Damn.
George.
Damn, George. Damn, George. Damn, George.
However, and perhaps David, you can chime in on grievances. John Davies is our grievance chair, but our responsibility is to represent all faculty, not just union members. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that means that sometimes we have to defend the rights of faculty that may not be in good standing in regards to how they address equity and diversity.
Right.
So sometimes we have to defend our colleagues like that. And maybe, John, you can add a little bit more about grievance process.
Yeah, I guess I would say, I wouldn't say we necessarily defend those folks, but I think we are there to make sure that all the progressive discipline issues are followed, right? So we have, it's a duty. It's what's called a duty of fair representation. That's in all labor contracts. I'd like to come back to that other issue about. I heard it yesterday as anti-bias training, but you said something different today. What is cultural competency training? Lawyer Grace spoke to this, but it's not illegal to require faculty to do that. But in a collective bargaining environment, the issue has to be brought to the table, and we need to negotiate whether or not we're going to require all faculty to do that. Okay. On a similar issue a year ago, this issue was around sexual harassment, right, and using your power as a professor to sexually harass students and other staff. And there was a question about whether or not that should be required of faculty, right? And so there's a history here of not requiring faculty to sometimes do these trainings, but our bargaining unit was very clear that we stand solidly behind that on that issue, and we certainly stand solidly behind this demand of having anti-bias training or cultural competency training And we'll go on record to say that.
Didn't y'all do that last year though?
Not about this issue. It didn't come up last year.
But what was the training that faculty passed that y'all was going to go to last year?
That was
So what's the difference between implicit bias and what's the difference? It's just fancy wording. Shouldn't y'all? What were y'all learning in that training?
Hi, I'm Teresa Leva. I'm identified as a woman of color, Dean of Faculty Hiring and Faculty Development. Worked with many of you in my programs. I really appreciate your bringing your legitimate concerns here today. So we went through instituting, I moved into this position as Dean of Faculty Hiring and Faculty Development with a lot of the commitments that you guys are putting forth. I'm also on the Equity Council, and I just want to say I think the Equity Council's been doing some good work to push these initiatives forward. I know it's not enough, but we did institute, you were asking Shumerica, we did institute implicit bias training for all hiring search committees, and we did also, we have students on hiring committees. We really encourage more students of color. We did have students of color on a number of those committees, and we also, there was a question about how do we ensure in hiring that faculty that are hired have this competency. We had sort of a mushy multicultural statement that was sort of a legacy, and we shifted it to a diversity and equity statement this year. I think that's produced better applications so we can kind of tell where faculty are coming from. And we also ask a number of questions around commitment to equity and diversity. We put in the ads, experience working with diverse and underrepresented student populations is highly desirable. So these are some steps that I've taken this year. About a third of our newly hired faculty are people of color. I think we're making steps. I know it's not enough, and I appreciate your demands in pushing this forward.
So y'all keep saying we need to negotiate. Let's negotiate right now. You need to negotiate about having mandatory training. Like that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're here to negotiate. Let's make it happen.
We'll be silent while they negotiate.
I have a question. My name is Riel, the Plan for the Black Teen Nation. And, I'll give an example of the great Beverly Tatum, give a really nice analogy for this. Racism is kind of like this conveyor belt you'd see at, like, in airports. What's happening on there in terms of racism in oppressed societies. People are on the conveyor belt, white people, and the racist white people are the ones, like, running on the conveyor belts. And the well-to-do white people, they're still on the conveyor belt, and, they may say, like, oh, like, I don't want to be like that person. I'm just going to stop right here. But the fact of the matter is the oppressive society conveyor belt is still going. They're still moving forward. And the only way to fight against, oppressive society as white people is to engage in anti-racist work in the opposite direction at a rate that's faster than the conveyor belt is going. So all of you are saying that, yeah, there's these anti-racist trainings, but that's not enough. They need to engage in anti-racist work and engage in doable acts. And I think in terms of those doable anti-racist work, the student should have a voice in what that looks like, as they are the people going to be most impacted by the actions of the teachers. So, yeah, these talks are great, anti-racist trainings are great, but they're not enough. We need doable acts. We need that anti-racist work.
Someone open a door for air, please.
Yeah,
Open that one over here. This one don't. That one over there.
Also, is there a faculty and staff code of conduct? Because we know there's a student code of conduct that's constantly being revised.
Yeah, and I feel like that just
is
violates.
there a faculty or staff code of conduct that we can hold people accountable to?
No,
no,
this is not an entrance.
No, it's not an entrance.
You right there. You hold the door. You
Don't hold it.
Right here.
That door can get closed right there, though. George's trying to hit the sneak moves.
So, Grace, you brought up something about the policies and the fact that administration has the authority. Why haven't they exercised that authority to get rid of people who have a history and a pattern? What's that guy named Ken?
What was his name?
Ken's the one who sat at the table yesterday.
He's right there.
That was you, Ken, who told me about the pattern? We gotta wait for the pattern? Okay, so for all the people that have the pattern, the faculty and the staff who had the pattern of these racist allegations, whatever you want to call them, throw the fancy language on them. Why haven't they got to the point where they need to be fired?
Well, that's a really good question. And so again, we have due process at our college. So the process is if there's an issue, and we can walk through this with Cynthia. Are you still here?
I'm right here, yeah.
So you can help me walk through the process that we went through. So you contacted me as chair, and you described the situation with a faculty member, right? And so I shared that with our grievance committee, which is essentially John Davies and Lori and Marla Elliott. And we talked through what was the concern, right?
Yep.
And then we talked about what could be some possible strategies that we could work with in step one, so to speak, like how you could talk to this faculty member, what were some strategies for negotiation in terms of problem solving, right? And then what happened?
Well, part of what had happened was we had called in academic advising because so many students had been complaining to academic advising, and my colleague wasn't really responding to that or to my concerns. And academic advising had also been speaking to the deans, and what was discerned was that because he wasn't really breaking the CBA, there wasn't much that the union could do. And I was already talking with administration, and Therese, wherever Therese went, and Scott took it to have a conversation with him. But there were several items that the students were saying were really out of line. And so in the end, I left that program. But I left, and many of the students stayed with me, but we never really knew what happened. And I felt a lot like, where's the accountability? Like, I agree that it's good to have policies, but where's the meat in them? Like, we have policies, and Therese, I don't know where you are. Where are you? Oh, sorry. I mean, there is a policy on equity for hiring, but it wasn't followed. I also left my hiring committee. It wasn't being followed. And I was super upset about it, and nobody seemed to care. And after having gone through that other stuff in the fall, I was like, I don't know what to do. And I just...
So then the discipline stage went to the administration to track, and that was Therese. That's what we needed her feedback. So then she followed through in terms of conversation with that particular faculty member. And so then what happened to that?
It's still in progress.
There you go.
From how long ago?
Last year. And so I don't know what's happening. I heard, I only hear rumors in hearsay.
But you can rush, but you can rush a case to hurry up and kick out black trans students in the same year, but you can wait an entire year.
Only have a conversation.
What's going
All
on?
they had
Can we
was
get
a
some
conversation.
answers? We'll sit inside.
At least suspend them to show us you care.
How do we pay money to be here, but you guys have conduct codes that work against us, but nothing that holds the discussion of faculty?
Isn't that faculty still teaching?
Yeah.
Right.
There's been no
What the hell? No.
I don't know.
We had a faculty
So
how can you not explain that?
So faculty, y'all don't even know what's going on?
No,
with
they
the
said
So
this
you're being
earlier.
disenfranchised by this administration as well.
Yeah,
basically.
that's what we're hearing.
You can
Earlier.
join the lawsuit. Okay.
Earlier today, they said that they don't know nothing that's going on, and they're not going to interfere because they don't want to lose their job.
Damn.
And that's what my man said.
I didn't say that.
Which man?
No, not you.
No, not you.
Who said it?
Where's Milkshake and Chill?
Minus the chill.
And he still got his job. You probably not even going to say nothing.
So this is where we're at. Everybody in the same room, and so now we can stop saying that person told me since we're all here together.
Yeah.
George.
And
Yeah,
so
You
George,
can't
what's
keep blaming
up,
it on
George?
him, George. So yesterday you sat in a room of 400 students and told us all these people that you didn't have there yesterday were accountable for this.
Yeah.
They're telling us
you're accountable.
And they're right here.
This is your job.
So George, do something. Prove
You have
to us
the
you
power.
care about students of color.
He don't care.
Do
Wait.
something.
You said them. They're saying you. So now what's the next step?
Yeah.
Give up your position of power.
Put that guy in suspension.
Let him
and
talk.
launch
He's,
people.
let's hear what he got to say.
The guy right here.
Hold on.
Hands, George.
Hold on.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Number one, I'm delighted to know that the United Faculty of Evergreen are supportive of required training. I'm very supportive of it, and I hope we can incorporate that in the next contract.
Can you not say hope and say will?
George is delighted that the faculty.
Now, you don't need to speak for
Support.
him. He can speak for himself. He gets paid enough. And this is his thoughts. You don't know his thoughts?
I am delighted that the United Faculty of Evergreen, our union, faculty union, is supportive and interested in pursuing, getting, mandating, requiring training on issues of of bias, of racism, of police brutality, and the same issues we discussed yesterday. That bodes well for our contract negotiations. That's something I will strongly support, and I will ask the administration to support in their negotiations with the union. Number one.
The administration didn't want to listen to us.
Wait,
I'm listening to you.
Didn't Wendy?
I'm listening
Okay,
to
I need y'all to stop getting wrapped around fingers. Okay? Didn't Wendy and George just sit in an implicit bias training and still sent that email to us?
Yes.
Come on, man. This training ain't gonna work.
Right.
People gotta go.
Right.
That's what we talking about. They're tired of doing the work, George. People been doing the work for years, way before you ever got here. And so I'm asking you, why is it taking so long to get rid of these racist ass, hurtful ass white people?
Because
when
you
you can
keep
kick
hurting
us
us.
out, you can kick us out in the same academic school year. What is the problem? She got tired, so she stopped. Did she just not sit here and say that? She got tired of doing the work and people saying that we do the work and y'all don't do it. Where is the process at?
Hold on.
Wait. If the process is broken, why yesterday did you sit up here and tell us the only way that worked is the process?
So now you a liar. Because we're students of color. Now you a liar. Yeah.
It's broken, but
if
it's
you're
the
gonna
only
do
thing that
something,
works.
hold the teacher
So what
accountable.
are you going to do to fix it? Because you told us the process was the only way you would help any of us yesterday.
Student conduct process.
We were talking about a whole lot of processes yesterday.
One at a time. One at a time, please. Let me speak. One at a time. We need to improve. We need to improve the student conduct process for the reasons that you've all enumerated. I laid out a plan that I gave to you in an email this morning that articulated how we're going to rebuild the student conduct process, that students will be involved, it will be actively done, and students will be paid for their work. The faculty...
Like last year too.
No, but we're not talking. What about a faculty conduct process? What's going on?
And
Like
right.
they just listed a problem. How are you going to fix it now?
It's got to be fixed because obviously...
No, not it has to. We know this. That's why we're telling you. What are you going to do to change it?
I know.
And how? Action steps.
I just don't want to postpone till next year.
No, I have no interest in postponing
That's
next
what
year.
happened.
You gave me until May 26th to respond to these demands. You will have a response to these demands by May 26th.
But we gave you till May 26th of last year.
Yeah,
No,
and then we forgot about
fuck that because that next
New
problem,
demands.
you forgot the old demands. How you gonna tell me these are new ones?
I'm
Right. George, you're just trying to feed us candy now. You don't know what to say. Just admit it.
Exactly.
Just do something. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing.
And you know what, Georgia? It's okay to not know what you're doing, but this is when you ask your fellow faculty and advisors and everybody else for help. Because I see a woman over here that said she was working real hard, and yet you still haven't even addressed her or acknowledged her.
And that's why they're here, and I need their help. I need their help.
No, that's not. We're here because we're tired.
So let me, here's what I'm asking. Here's what I'm asking. You give me the demands, these sheets, and there are 9 or 10 of them. You give me until May 26th to respond. That's what it says. I will respond with their help by May 26th. You gotta give me that.
Yes, you need accountability. What's your accountability if you don't?
You should get fired.
And you said that yesterday.
He will resign.
You'll resign by May 26th if you can't make those demands happen? But he said that yesterday.
I also want y'all to realize that George just got here almost 2 years ago. He's not the only problem. People been here.
I know. But he's got
not the only problem, but he keeps showing up.
20 years. Right.
Keep giving us a runaround.
But you know, he's the one that's supposed to fix the process.
People we throwing at you, or you
Y'all.
Hey, stop talking. One more person talking at a time.
Thank you, Tamika.
No, I was talking about Shamir. I need you to stop talking. Yeah, Shamir was talking. You're disrespecting. But now.
Say what you just did to me.
Oh, to you? That George just got here? And it's not just George. It's people who have already been here. That is the problem. That's what the faculty have said. That's what the students have said. Your administration has said the same thing, even though they won't give up their positions. That's how white privilege works. So my thing is like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order for shit to change? Clearly, Cynthia then sacrificed a lot and got tired of it. Did all that work. And so who stepped in for Cynthia? That's what I want to know, because when people stop doing work around here, nobody says, oh, I want to do it, especially not for equity.
Sarah Williams stepped in for me.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sarah, stand up and wait for the one time.
Yeah, so we know.
Okay.
Stop working.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Go back to George. George, what are you gonna do? And don't say nothing.
Wait a minute.
We want action, George.
I know you did.
Like, don't feed no empty promises.
I don't want no more of that bullshit. Serious, George. Like, what are you gonna do? Like some real action, not just you promising things and not fulfilling those promises.
People need to be gone.
Protect us.
Because if you got till May 26th and you say what you're really going to do, you must have some sort of idea.
Where's the secretary for the board of trustees at?
Right.
Where is he at?
Administration didn't give enough of a fuck.
Why isn't has the board of trustees been contacted? Why isn't somebody Skyping them? Why aren't they having word in on this right here? Are they watching the live stream? Is anything happening with them? Don't they like control what happens here too? So where are they at? Do you have any contact with them for this?
Yeah, the board of trustees. The
I don't know.
Can you?
Related to Casper, I'm afraid.
Sit in silence. Hold on. Come on.
ahead.
We want to answer.
So, I did contact the board of trustees this morning and let them know what was happening because we need to keep them informed. They're all over the state. They're volunteers, and the deal we have with the board is that they hold one person accountable, and that's the president. And so that's their role here. They don't come in and start telling faculty what to do. They don't come in and start telling staff what to do or students what
back
to do.
to George. George got the authority.
They
Okay,
work.
that's what I wanted you to say it too.
George got the authority.
Well, our Lawrence's trial, they said the board of trustees. Yeah, so our Lawrence's trial, George also said the appeal board and the board of trustees. That's in the case. They picked up the case, right? Or to your knowledge, do you have any knowledge of that case?
I know a little bit about that case, but
Does the rest of the board?
Yes or no? Hold on.
I don't think that the board knows the details of what's happening with that case.
So it's pointing back.
So it's pointing back to George, is what you're saying.
Well, I think in that case it's probably pointing back to the student conduct board.
Oh, so it's pointing back to Andy. And Wendy. Okay.
So where is that?
So why does Evergreen have like a history of just pointing your fingers at everybody but you?
Yeah, do you guys even like each other? Do you work together or no? You'd be like, I'm gonna stand quiet on this side of the room and blame you and just don't say nothing and you can blame me back. Like, what is it? Y'all standing right here and you're standing with them and you haven't even acknowledged the fact that
y'all all look like some damn fools.
Right. And that's why we wanted you all here together so you guys could see what we see, and this is ridiculous.
We will be the mirror, so y'all can see how.
Right. Because nobody heard about that. When you point a finger, there's three pointing back at you. So again, we're just spinning in circles. The people that got the authority ain't doing shit. The people who, okay, I'm confused. I'm not confused. Y'all confused.
Right.
On why you're not doing your job and why you still work here.
George is asleep.
Are y'all just waiting for retirement? See?
Member Arun Chandra. I've been here almost 20 years.
Okay. Long time.
I want to support what you're doing, and I don't know what your demands are. Can I get a copy of them?
Have you ever had black and brown students in your class?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a dramatic bite of this apple.
Bite it. There you go. That's your ass.
So.
You
dramatic
pass that to
right, one time.
Because that was. Well, there's some right here.
Yo, why did you make that up?
Wait, I don't need two. I need one.
Because you know what the demands are.
I have a question of response because 20 years faculty of color, like this is somebody that everybody in here can learn from you. You've been here longer and you've experienced it longer. This campus is hostile to people of color. So I want to hear your experience as a faculty of color of where you can, because as you look at the demands, like where can you identify with this? Because it's not coming from nowhere. And if you've been here for 20 years, like what has your experience been in hearing what these students are saying in regards to how the institution repeatedly, systemically throws us under the bus, sweeps us under the rug, and to faculty as well. Like, you're not safe in this either. So can I hear some of your thoughts on that, please?
Yeah. The thing that The thing that affects me the most is that any student here feels unsafe, particularly students of color. And that you feel unsafe on this campus, this is where my kids grew up, makes me wonder, well, what can I do? The one thing I can do by myself is say, open my doors to you. If you feel unsafe, come to my house. It's not that big, but come to my house.
Wait,
I think. Yeah.
You all like that, where you can say that.
What I would also like to encourage students to feel, and I would like faculty then to speak up, because I think as individuals, I've come to know many of these faculty well, and they would happily do that too. If any student feels unsafe for whatever reason, come to our houses. That's the one thing I can say that can meet the demand immediately. The other demands that are there about taking care of the fact that 2 black students were arrested for protesting racism on campus, as I understand it anyway, and then you and your buddy were there, they all got hassled by cops. These 2 particular problems I cannot address.
That's the same one.
No, he's talking about
They
Aaron
are
Lawrence.
Oh, you mean Aaron Lawrence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. Those 2 problems I cannot address right now. And I can barely say anything that would meet your legitimate demand for being answered. But the other demands, I feel for you, and that's the one thing I can offer.
I appreciate your transparency, and I also would like for the administration to take note. Faculty member, we've been talking about like having safe spaces and all that stuff, like places for students to go. Your faculty is having to use their paycheck to house students. They have to open their houses to students of color because it's that unsafe. That's the double impact. Do you care about that at all? Are you willing to open your house? Because we went to your house, George, and I did not feel welcome.
Because it was the wrong house.
Get out.
Oh yeah, that was your bonus house.
You got a bonus crib?
Where like, yeah, like that's the house that Evergreen gives you, right? But whatever, like
That's the get out house.
Does it bother any of y'all at all? Like Wendy as well. Does it bother any of you that your faculty have to open their homes for us to feel safe? Is that a problem for you?
Obviously not. They quiet. Yeah.
Is Wendy gonna respond?
I just also want to point out how all this faculty is here, but they're not saying anything, so they're pretty much pointless. They're just here to look like they're down.
Wendy has a response.
Wendy ain't pointing fingers.
Make sure you speak up, please, so everyone can hear.
But I would point the finger at myself for my complicitness in much, some, all of what's transpired, but I'm not going to point my fingers at others.
So you're gonna resignate today, or what? Then you obviously ain't doing your job. So what you still doing?
Well, I want to believe that I can contribute and be helpful.
What if we don't trust you though? That's the thing.
No, so then what are you gonna do?
Nobody's safe with you here because I think your only option, and so is George's, is to actually just leave.
Because if we're tired of being complacent, what are you gonna do?
Actually, Wendy, I'm speaking to you. Do you remember last night I had a very specific demand that you said you were going to do, and I'm asking you because you told me I could reach out to you. What did you follow through with that today, or did that not?
Well, I remember 2. One was, will you respond to every email the student sends? And I promised I would. And the second was, will you investigate what transpired at the food rink last night? And I promise I will. To be quite honest, there hasn't been time.
Right, but you told me you were going to start first thing this morning. See, so where's the accountability on your house?
Complete that task by the end of the day today.
I don't know about that.
But see, that's the issue.
Because we have students coming to you saying that they're being discriminated against, and then they have to come to class or walk on campus and see that teacher who discriminated against them on campus. So then we have to come here. Every student in here has homework, has a job, has family, has kids. Why do your kids, like students of color, have to be in here doing work like this? And the white students get to say, I have cheetah print hair and I'm welcome here. But we have black skin and we're not. And we are students as well, and we're wasting our time putting in work, and you're not putting in any work. So you're telling us something, and we cannot trust it. We've given you chances. We told you calmly, this teacher is racist, and they're still here. So you have to tell us something different, because just saying I will do it is not true. It's a lie. We know you're liars. That's it.
When you see results. So I'm Pete Bowman. I'm a faculty member here, and I was going to say, I guess yesterday I was at both the meeting, the earlier one and the 4 o'clock meeting, And it was one of the most powerful things I've seen, like number of people led by black students really dealing with the racism on the campus. I've been here 30 years, and there's been some good change, but it's such a long way to go. So I really want to thank people for the work you're doing. You know, I was thinking with the administration, a good faith would be, say, all charges we dropped for the 3 different cases. You know, the case, the trans case, black trans, back in the fall, and the cases where people were detained. And yes, I think that'd be good faith. When people say they can't do it, the law says we can't do it, you can challenge the law. Always those excuses are made. So I think that would be one really good step of a good faith thing as opposed to just words. I think a second thing would be about people being safe. I think the administration saying, and other people, we're not going to call the Olympia police, we're not going to call the sheriffs, who actually have a worse history than police. And as people know, 2 years ago, 2 young brothers, Andre Thompson, Bryson Chaplin, were shot. Bryson is still in a wheelchair 2 years ago, and I think something like that's going to happen here unless we say we're not going to call the police. I think thirdly, saying the campus police, besides more training, if they were not armed, they used to not be armed. I think if they weren't armed, that'd be a lot safer thing too.
30 years, so you know, we know. 30 years. I mean, he's 10 years after the school started. 30 years. He's been there the whole time. Did we nominate you for president? So you've never heard this?
Would you like to run for president?
Yes.
I know. I think they can do it. They can
So
do
what
it
was
so
it
easily
like
if they wanted
when it wasn't armed police? Because they act like the safety
It wasn't armed. I'll just say briefly what happened to that. The police were not armed. They were security. There were much better relations. Then there was a movement to arm the police. The students voted. There was a referendum. Students voted overwhelmingly, almost 2 to 1 against arming the police. The faculty voted overwhelmingly for it anyway. But at the very end, Art Constantino, who was kind of the vice president of student affairs, Les Purse was the acting president. They armed them anyway. And it was. At first they said we'll just arm them occasionally when there's money on campus, but slowly by slowly it's 24 hours 7 and increasing militarization of the police too. So it's something I think we should stop. It would really change the atmosphere. Even like the way when Tracy came yesterday without the guns, I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Stacey. But it wasn't right.
So that's part of the history here.
That's why she was standing behind everybody, because she didn't have that gun. She didn't know how to communicate. She was scared. I know.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Community love.
Community love.
That was deep.
So George, what you gonna do, Playboy?
Well, I was on the phone with the Attorney General's office about half an hour ago to talk about the issue of charges and how do we go about dropping them and what is needed to happen. She is working on that. I also talked with her about, pardon my hand, about the video that Brian Shepard built on Day of Absence, Day of Presence, and the fact that it was stolen from the lab where it was built, and that we can take action against the party that's using it. She outlined in an email that I've yet to read, but we discussed very briefly actions we can take to pull it down. It's going to involve legal action involving the Attorney General and some perhaps other lawyers who are specialists in copyright law. So those two things are in play. They're in play right now. I want to get to work on them, folks. And this is a tough environment to go to work on, but I'm working on them. Then we want to get to your demands. And I want to sit down and go through them. I want to outline the responses so that you have responses by when you ask for them, May 26th. Which is Friday, right? Is that right?
So I know that.
So the charges, I just want to recap. The charges are going to be dropped?
Charges dropped.
I don't know if the charges are going to be dropped, but I'm going to work toward that outcome with them to find out a vehicle by which we can at least